Okay, we are live.
We're live. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us again today. Today is the final tab training session. Not the final training session by any means. We have got many more great things to come every month and during the month, but as far as running through the tabs and really breaking down in detail the definitions and the breakdown of the software itself, this is the final training. And so today we are going to be covering the last two tabs besides the outline on the top right. We're going to be covering the retention tab and the back end tab. And actually, after the transaction tabs where you've really started to make your offers, get your upsells, and now people are part of your back end, this is really where you can seriously monetize the relationships that you've now built and are starting to cultivate with your customers. So the tendency for some people, once they've really focused and done the work on the front end and they've made their sale, the tendency is to get a little sloppy sometimes in the back end. And I have to tell you that that's one of the biggest mistakes that you can make, because as you continue to develop the relationships with your client base, this is where you can really, really increase the lifetime value by introducing them to some valuable back-end programs that you have to offer, and they will take a number of different forms, many of which we will review today. Mitch, any opening thoughts?
What you said there about lifetime value, I think, is probably the most important thing that people need to understand, is that the most expensive part for most businesses is customer acquisition, whether it's sales team, sales staff, advertising, whatever it is, the customer, which we've been talking about up to this point, is customer acquisition. That's actually the hardest part of a business. Fulfillment of the product and whatnot is just giving them what the value that they've purchased and acquired from you. But beyond that, there's no reason to allow the customer to just fade away without maximizing that value of the relationship between you and the customer, of all the things that you could be providing to the customer in exchange for the value they can provide to you, which is their money. So the lifetime value of a customer is something that is not to be taken for granted, and that's what these last two tabs are about. The retention and the back-end tabs are about maximizing the lifetime value of your customer. Just recently, you want to jump in? I was going to tell a story. But
no. I was just going to say, because at the end of the day, especially when you're running a launch style promotion where you're introducing people in a broad context, and refunds are bad for everybody. They're bad for business. They're bad for the customer who may not know better. May not be giving it a full chance to the great content that you've created for them, assuming you've done that. And it's bad for your merchant account. So anything that you can do in the process, not only to build lifetime value, but to keep customers engaged and hold off on returning your product, these are things you want to have implemented and have thought through ahead of time to make sure that people understand that it's a valuable thing for them to continue to use the product and continue to stay engaged with you and your community.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, recently I had to get some transmission work done on my car, and the car actually stopped working on the road. I had to get towed to so the tow driver said, hey, I know a good transmission place. Talking to the tow, I was fine, take me to that place and let's just get this thing fixed. And, of course, got the transmission fixed. It was a $2,000 job. It wasn't cheap at all. Have I heard, anything from this guy since then? Of course not. So here he gets a customer, walks, free customer basically. Tow driver needed to drop the car somewhere, put it in his lot, ends up getting a $2,000 job to fix this thing, and there's no retention, no communication, no effort at all to make sure I do my oil changes there. He actually gave me a free oil change because I gave him some marketing advice, but nothing to do with this. But that's a story that's worth telling, but it would have applied to more like the way he approached his. It's about past stuff that we already covered. I could have told that story, but the point is that no effort whatsoever has been made to communicate with me, to retain me, to get me to come back and do other work. He got my money, and he's on to the next customer and the next battle.
And by the way, this is of course why you see so many marketers out there, especially some of the big ones, that are doing products based on the local businesses, because there is such a huge opportunity to go after the local business market and help them improve their marketing strategies. And as you start to work through these and implement them in your own business, it's something to think about. If you're in any way targeting the local business market, especially if it's your primary focus, there's just so many opportunities. And I can tell you, per Mitch's story, that some of the weakest areas is not so much in their front end, in terms of the coupons they may offer or going to Groupon or the promotions that they may do to get you in. It's their follow-up or lack thereof in the back end and understanding how to really keep a loyal customer base and maximize that. And that's where people who are consultants coming in can really do quite a bit to build that back end for themselves as well. So let's, without any further ado,
one more point, one more thing, right? Because this is important, and this is setting the context for everything we're about to talk about. And I think going through the actual software today is going to be very quick. So I think the context is very important. The key thing to realize is that creating the relationship, once you get the business, I think a lot of people look at the business, the single transaction. That's what my thought was. That like the entire job I do is the one transaction with the customer. I get my money, he gets his product, he gets his service, he gets whatever, and then the relationship is over. And what this is really about, these two tabs, are about the relationship you build with your customer. And when you build a good relationship with your customer, you can actually then outspend your competition. Because when you can make money, when your lifetime value of your customer is higher than your competition's, and you know that I'm going to have more products to be selling this person, I'm going to have this guy coming back to my garage again and again and again because I've got a proper back end and a retention campaign put in place. What happens is you then can spend more money on the front. You don't even necessarily have to make money on the front. You could potentially lose money on the front, knowing full well that the average lifetime value of your customer is going to be greater, much greater potentially than what it costs you to get that customer. Now, I also want to point out one more thing, and I'll turn it over to Sean, is I said average, and this is very important because so many people look at each individual customer and say, did I make money on this car? This is the whole conversation now with the garage guy. Did I make money on this customer? Did I make money on this customer? Did I make money on this? And no point are they willing to have a loss on any of those individual customers. And when you think about your customer lifetime value, you're thinking about the average value of all of your customers.
Correct.
Very important.
Hugely important concept. And in fact, in future trainings, we're going to actually talk about metrics, and we're going to talk about ways to implement the testing. We're going to talk about all of these things. So everything we've promised, I mean, for those of you that have been following us now for a few months, or if I'm fortunate enough to know some of you personally, you know that Mitch and I are both men of our words, and all we are here to do is bring as much value as we can. So that's why, do not be bashful about taking, 30 seconds and writing an email to support. If there's something that you want us to cover specifically outside of all the trainings that we're planning on, let us know, because we want to make sure that this time is valuable for you, not just when you're joining us live, but when you're in the members area looking at training for resources. We want to bring that on if there are certain guests that you'd like to see. We have relationships throughout the industry, as many of you know, and we want to make sure to try to set up special sessions so that these people can be available for you in Q&A. So please don't be bashful. Make notes in the chat when you're on a live session like this, and also contact us at support@controlwriter.com and send in your ideas, your thoughts, your comments. Let us know how we're doing. And with that, let's move into retention. So very first tab here is called Stick Strategies. And stick strategies are just that. They are strategies designed at helping people who have recently purchased your product or service stick around in your community. And now some people think that this only applies to when you are selling a membership site, or when somebody is going to be billed on a monthly level or even an annual basis or quarterly basis. And that is not true. Stick strategies have everything to do with the sticking of the relationship between your customer and your community as a whole. So this means the people that may be coming in as a trial. This means the people that have contacted you to inquire about purchases, and the people that haven't even been reached yet, but there may be some exposure to them through other people's viral sharing in social media or other means. Stick strategies are all about cultivating the relationship between you, your clients, and your prospects on a long-term basis. And so there are a number of different ways that we can do this. Let's just go over some of the more popular ones. So oftentimes, when what will happen is after a purchase is made, there'll usually be a series of emails, initially, of course, to deliver the products, or in some cases to get somebody to confirm their interest in being part of the community and receiving future correspondence. And that's not necessarily in itself a stick strategy. It's really more fulfillment of a product just purchased. And the confirmation is to ensure that people still want to be kept in the loop. But beyond that, what will often happen is that the customer will then be placed inside what's called a nurture sequence. And a nurture sequence is designed to do a few different things. First and foremost, it's designed to further train and educate the customer on the process, on what they purchased, making sure that they've got exposure to all the resources that are available, reminders along the way, as well as deeper dive training to allow them to just get more and more entrenched in the product or service that they are hopefully now using. And it's unfortunately such a sad case that so many people pay for something, never really use it, and in the meantime it sits on their shelf. They do what's called just-in-case purchasing. That sounds great. I definitely need to have that for when I get to that. And that's how a lot of businesses go broke, is through just-in-case purchases, just in case they may need it one day. So when you have actually taken the time to invest your money and invest your time, the best thing you can do for yourself is get as engaged as possible, go through the material, stay active, give the companies a chance to really provide the value that you're expecting, and then really watch them going forward to see how they're treating you as a customer. It's very important. So for you as the business owner, you want to be cognizant that the people purchasing your products are thinking the very same thing. They are looking at how they're being treated. Did they receive a thank you email? Do they get special invitations? Is access provided? Is there an opportunity to contact you directly through multiple forms of support, not just an email online, but either a phone number or at the very least a community forum or a support system? These are all very important because when somebody wants help, they have to have a number of ways to be able to get it. And if they feel like it's taking too long to get it, it's a very, very good way for people to leave your community quickly. Anything to add so far, Mitch?
I think that pretty much covers everything.
Okay. So let's talk about some specific examples. So again, the nurture sequence is one. A lot of times, if you're purchasing a certain type of product above a certain price point, it's not unusual at all to get a special thank you call from either the vendor themselves or at least somebody on their team, making sure that you're happy with the purchase. That you
nurture sequence would typically be in emails, correct? I mean, so I mean, some of these Sean is talking about cover more than one of these categories. Where stick strategy might be what he's talking about right now. Specifically, I'm going to send them a free gift that was an unexpected bonus, things like that, which plays into the influence of reciprocation. They're more likely to keep your product because you've given them a free gift. Even I think it was Frank Kern talked about it in his Mass Control, like just sending like a pack of cookies, like
brownies, cards. Send out cards is the service that does that.
The retention was so much higher for people when they sent out just a pack of brownies, costing $10, $15, $20 if it's high-class brownies, and the retention of a $2,000 product was exponentially higher. So but in terms of
calories equal retention, remember that.
So those are like stick strategies. I know Sean was giving an example, but I just wanted to clarify. Like a nurture sequence would really be emails. We'll talk.
Absolutely, but it's also part of the overall stick strategies. That's why we'll get into some of those sequences with emails. But in terms of as one element. Nurture sequences are also a stick strategy, as Mitch pointed out. Again, VIP thank you calls, just more welcoming to the community. And also, don't forget that when you're on a thank you call, the thank you call is also an opportunity to introduce people to what else you have. Not in a cheesy, schlocky, salesy way, but as you see that the conversation is going a certain direction and you're learning more about your clients because you're asking, why did you purchase? What are you hoping to gain? How can we best help you? What's the biggest challenge you're having right now in your business? As you start to explore some of those things with your customers, they're going to tell you things. And when you have things that are going to very easily help that process, that's the time for you to introduce them to other things that you have available. And whether or not they want to take advantage of it at that time, which is not unusual, or whether they just know it for the future, it's a very important tool in your arsenal to be able to introduce and make your customers aware of what's available. Dan Kennedy calls this showing them the ladder of where they can go, starting with the product they purchased, all the way up to some of the higher end programs. The customer should always be aware of the ladder of products and services that you have to offer for their benefit. And what happens is so many people, through their own limiting beliefs, they're afraid to talk about things, especially the high price things. They believe like, well, the customer just spent all this money with me. It's kind of not appropriate to be asking them for more. But again, hopefully we're all operating from the premise that we want to spend time cultivating products and services and developing them, and we're proud of them. These are things that we know that if someone were to only take advantage of using them, they would get value, and we have to be sure of that before we put it out. It doesn't mean the product or service has to be perfect in every way before you release it. Note that. That's a very important distinction. But it has to be out there and available and continually being improved to the point where you know that any customer who takes advantage of it, not that it's going to be right for everyone, but in theory, anyone who purchases it and uses it to the best of their ability and consults with you in the process, they're going to get maximum value out of it. And so you should never, ever, ever be afraid to introduce your customers to more of what you have to offer. They've invested with you because they believe in you and they have faith in you. And so many of them are only waiting for you to say, did you know that we have this? I hear that you've been struggling with this particular issue. Did you know that if you just did this, this, or this, or work with one of our team for literally 30 days or less, you can correct this entire problem? Customers want to hear that. They want to make their lives easier, not harder. So all of those things that you can do as you're talking to them and having calls, they're all available through that early getting to know you phase when your customers are first joining your community.
Now, some of what Sean was just talking about applies to the back end, so let's just jump over there for a second. So, of course, what Sean was talking about is other products that you would be promoting potentially to those, or consulting potentially. And we'll talk about this in a minute, but what Sean was talking about, you can see that's part of what the brainstorm tool allows for, specifically to think through what other products are you going to be promoting, and then you would kind of full circle. You'd say, well, what's the next product? And you go all the way back to the beginning and say, what are the core elements? What's the story about that product? Where the objections influence? But now it's different. It's one of your customers you're selling to. So you do the whole exercise again, right through lead gen of that product, which might be, the call or whatever it is, through the transaction all the way through again. And just it's a repetitive process. Just you're at a whole higher level now.
Mm-hmm. Yep, the difference is the core of the branding that you're doing as a company and as a brand has already been done in your initial core element work. And that's what's so great about that is once you've sort of established your primary messaging and what you stand for, what your preeminent distinction is, although you can certainly tweak it on a product level, the core of your company and your company's mission is pretty much going to be consistent throughout. It certainly should be. People should know what you as a company stand for. So back to the retention tab. Just some additional ideas. Obviously, the Stick Strategies, private consulting, Q&A calls, all of those are designed to keep people engaged. Another very powerful way to keep new customers engaged and for long term is to create referral programs for them. In fact, it's not uncommon at all, especially with a high-ticket purchase. And when I say high-ticket purchase, I simply mean products that are more expensive. Obviously, high-ticket is a different meaning to different people. But when I say high-ticket, I'm really talking about anything $1,000 and up would be considered a higher-ticket purchase. And so if you can introduce people to a way where what they just purchased or what they're about to purchase, they can actually get back for free, and then some as they continue to get paid, people are very interested in that. If you know that you're at an event and you're about to put down a deposit on a product, and you know that if you bring 3 or 4 people to them to purchase that same product as an introduction, that you're going to get your product or service for free, that's a very powerful strategy. So people are always interested in finding out how they can either earn money through sharing the news about a product or service that they were really interested in, and or being able to get that product or service for free, or some other type of special event, or special VIP get-togethers. That's another one I forgot to mention in Stick Strategies. A lot of times if you have small group get-togethers and you announce that, look, I'm going to be in town on a certain date, and when I'm in town, we're going to actually set up a lunch or a dinner where everybody can get together who is part of this community. Those are very, very powerful, and people enjoy that. They like to get together, they like to network, and if they're going to be attending the same event, then it's a great opportunity to really connect with people in your community.
Right. I mean, there's definitely a power, a value in creating that whole community. That whole community essence around it, around your product, where people feel like having your product, owning your product is an inclusive kind of thing. And if they don't have it, they're excluded from the special specialness, and that's where you create your own language. And there's other kind of strategies we'll be talking about in coming months. Creating your own language that we've done very powerfully with our certainly even within this software. We've got the core elements. No one else talks about the core elements. We've got our we've got preeminent distinction, which is we've trademarked that, so it's ours. Only we can use it. Story. Obviously, no one's got a story. Framework that is this specific and does this kind of thing. So this is us building a customized language to create our own community.
Right. And so as we move off those, so all of you, I'm assuming, get the idea about the referral programs, the stick strategies. Moving on to communications, I want to emphasize that communications doesn't just mean.
One more thing on referral programs, because I don't want. First of all, I think we could say a little more on referral programs. First of all, obviously, affiliates marketing. That's all referral program. That's just it's different. That's what making affiliates able to sell your product. That's a referral program. But you could do referral programs in many different ways. We don't think about affiliate, but if you've got let's just go back to this garage guy. He could have given me, like a little coupon book with 3 or 4 coupons that had a number on it, or I wrote my name on it, and if I gave that coupon to somebody and then they used his garage for something, I'd get a free oil change. Doesn't have to be cash. Give me $50 cash maybe. Whatever it is, there's ways for him to monetize me as one of his existing customers. The acquisition of a customer costs money no matter which way you do it. Whether I give my money to Google or Facebook as an advertising cost to get a customer, or whether I give it to one of my customers to get me a new customer. Makes no difference to me, and sometimes it might even be more cost effective to give it to an existing customer, especially if he's just giving me an oil change. Because if I go for an oil change, I might get other work done. Yeah, the oil change was free, but you get other work done, and maybe restaurant businesses certainly could give away birthday dinners, things like that, because you're not going to go to eat dinner by yourself. You're probably going to eat dinner with, that would be more of a stick strategy, but you hear what I'm saying. Giving away the cost of getting the customer is more expensive than usually the cost of what just it's part of it doesn't matter who you pay. That's the point anyway.
Exactly. Yep. And that's the funny thing is that interesting enough, when people are a little bit gun shy about going in and starting a cold traffic campaign, whether it's advertising in a magazine or in a classified section, or going online and doing pay-per-click, they forget. They say, well, I just have affiliate program. I have people referring me business. There is no more expensive advertisement than an affiliate program. You're giving away, in some cases, as much as 50% or more of the commission to acquire that new customer to your affiliate, whereas you can be spending a fraction of that in new leads. I have to tell you that. But the point is that's about knowing your numbers. Knowing, well, if Facebook cost me this, affiliates cost me this. But at the end of the day, if you're not going to get that customer, it doesn't matter whether it costs you 80%. It's still 20% profit. Or you have a customer and then you've got your back end. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Maybe you give away 100% to your affiliates, but you've got the back end that will monetize on an average lifetime value. That that you're going to make money on that customer over the long term. So these are all different things. Knowing your numbers, which is something we probably should cover. Just the marketing math, which is probably something we'll cover. We will. We're going to have a whole separate training on marketing. That's what I was alluding to. It's not a segment of this particular software, but as far as ongoing training for our community, we are most definitely going to have an entire session dedicated to metrics, the ones that matter, how to calculate those metrics, and understanding and making sure. So if you're interested in that, please make sure that you sign up when you see it. Shoot us something in support if there's a particular metric that has always confused you and you'd like us to cover. Again, just stay in touch with us so that we can be more clear for you. And again, the idea is, even though the referral program may be more expensive in terms of percentages and cost, it's still something that you have, because the way to look at it is these are sales that in theory I would never have seen had this person, who I in some cases don't even know that well, never would have introduced to me. So it's, as far as we're concerned, I'd rather have a small percentage of something I never would have known than 100% of nothing. It's really simple math at the end of the day. But the other point is that you should not just have only one channel of advertising or new business revenue generation. You want to have a number of different channels. But having said that, one of the biggest mistakes that people make is they start out trying to go out to a number of different channels, and they try to master 4 or 5 different ways of advertising at one shot. And the smartest and safest thing that you can do, at least in my experience and from those that I know in the business and of many different kinds of businesses, is to get very clear on really maximizing one channel at a time. So for example, if you've decided that your primary sales mechanism is going to be through your own messaging and through an affiliate or a joint venture partner strategy, make sure that you get that maximized to the best of its ability first, to the point where it is cash flow positive for you. Once you do that, then you can start branching out with other strategies and other marketing and other campaigns. And mind you that this doesn't mean you need to spend 90 days or 6 months maximizing it. You may have it cracked in 2 weeks to 30 days or less. But the point is, make sure that you're really returning a positive cash flow on one channel before you start splitting yourself too thin. And I'm referring specifically to companies that maybe have one or just a few employees or assistants that are part-time. Because the more time you have to spend watching all the different advertising channels, the more time that you are taking away from your core business, which is understanding how to maximize your business's revenue overall, all the strategic things, and in some cases, the content creation that you also have to do and facilitate for your customers. So it's a mistake that I've seen a lot of people make, is they see a new tool or they see a new thing and they're like, well, I got to try that. I got to try this new ad, or I want to try Facebook and Google and Bing and all the different things. And in the meantime, they're spread so thin, none of them are cash flowing positive, but money is simply just going out the door. So probably one thing to really take away from this is get really comfortable with one channel of marketing.
Well, yeah.
Maximize that so you know that you've got a positive revenue, positive cash flow, and then start to branch out from there.
Yeah, look, I mean, my opinion is that, once you've got an offer that works, you should try. I mean, I'll be a little bit different than Sean on this. Is that I think you go within the frame of your ability. You want to go to all the channels that message would be applicable. So, if you've got a good Facebook message and you can then start spending Bing and Google traffic without running yourself too thin, that's very important.
Right.
And you see once you know that it works on one channel and the other channels are going to be substantially similar, then I would say you definitely want to apply.
Substantially similar. Again, when we say channel, just to clarify what you're just saying, because he's not incorrect, we're talking about one channel of pay-per-click. I didn't literally mean that if you're doing Facebook, although it's very different from Google in the way it operates, their terms and conditions and their tolerances versus Google's, it's still pay-per-click. It's one sort of channel of internet pay-per-click advertising, as opposed to focusing on the online medium and then trying to crack magazine advertising, for example. It's a totally different.
Right. That would be a totally different
space.
And requires so much, a whole different approach and focus and different ways of tracking all those metrics and all that. Different messaging. I mean, yeah. So I would agree there that do one or the other and get that working, and or fail fast is another concept we haven't really discussed. That if you see something's not working, find an offer that works first. Get the big picture working, and then drill down to getting more detailed aspects of your offer perfectly aligned.
Right. So again, in the context of working as it relates to the software, we'll stay on what we've got here. But it's so easy as we start talking about these things to just bring up all these important.
Right, all these things. So at this point, I think we've covered stick strategies. Referral programs have been covered. Communications, again, we've talked about already as part of stick strategies. Speaking, giving them calls, emails, whatever it is, and of course emails.
Backed up, Mitch, when I was about to say earlier, direct mail. Direct mail, and don't ever underestimate the value or importance of somebody receiving something from you. And it can be as simple as a card. It doesn't always have to be a box of brownies or cookies, albeit a great strategy. It's just, even if they weren't expecting to, for example, have a DVD of one of the more popular trainings that people love, sometimes people just love to get it. They just don't think about it. But if they get something physical, whether they were expecting it or not, it's really nice. In software, some people still like to receive software in a box. It doesn't matter that it's completely unnecessary or that they can do faster installation without it. Some people still like to have that box to look at and it has a physical manual, and it has a backup disk that they can install, even though the data or the version on that backup disk is probably totally dated, and you have to update it anyway. It defies all logic in some ways, but in others, people can really associate value with holding something physical in their hands. So as part of communications, make sure that to the extent you're able to get people's physical addresses, try to capture those when you can, because you never know when you're able to surprise somebody with something physical that you can deliver that's going to be the thing that might have just kept them. It just makes it that much harder for people to return things also. When you're delivering a training course, for example, and you're especially in a high-cost product where it's 500 or 1,000 or more, when you're delivering some of that through a physical training piece, it's a lot harder for people to go to the post office, return it, and just think about all of that, returning everything they just purchased, than when it's digital and they can just send a quick email.
Dan Kennedy is big on the money in the money in the mailbox, not the email box, the mailbox. And it's anybody who study any of Dan Kennedy's stuff, he talks about the value of the putting mail and offers right in someone's mailbox. And he talks about how Google and all these big companies who are online companies use direct mail, actual physical hard mail, to promote their products. So if the online was such a big, he says, think about the contradiction of here they are promoting how great their online marketing is using direct mail. So, if there's ever the proof is in the pudding, the fact that they feel the need to go and do this, and anybody who's ever signed up for anything Google, any kind of Google campaign, they flood you with hard mail offers once you are in their system. So
that's right. Yeah, free coupons for $50 or $100 off Google AdWords. Get them all the time. If you sign up for something online in a hosting service, they oftentimes will include it, or they'll mail you something. So
now,
in that regard. And the last, go back to retention real quick.
Oh, okay, sorry.
And last but not least, we've covered it a little bit, is emails. And again, there's a number of different elements within emails. We will likely do an entire training session just on different strategies using email marketing alone. But for one, obviously a nurture sequence, what we discussed, and nurture sequences can take the form of pure new training in the form of direct content. They could be training that directs you to a video training session or a webinar of some kind. They can be training that simply introduces the features of your program so that people are reminded to check out a various feature and, again, keep them engaged. And emails are also about selling for future products, doing what's called a cash machine or a flash sale, so that you let people know in between your nurture sequence there's a special offer that's in there that's deeply discounted, or a special limited edition of what you might have sold previously at a higher price or in a different form. So email marketing is a very, very powerful way. Despite what you might hear about all the changing nature of online and social media, email marketing is still the single most powerful way to monetize your customer base. Don't forget that.
Yeah.
Okay, so on to back end. Back end, this is what we mean by back end is anything that comes after an initial purchase on the front end. So after the customer has bought something with you, with or without an upsell or an add-on purchase, this is going to be anything that has to do with with a purchase once they are now in your system and you're communicating with them. And so these are just a few primary ways that are very powerful, very effective, and very lucrative for really, really increasing the lifetime value of your customers. The first is through affiliate products. Many of you joined us in our community in some way as a relationship to Mike Filsame or Andy Jenkins. And so you know that Mike Filsame made his bones on being an affiliate product marketer. Once their launch is over, sometimes their emails don't stop. Now, people can have their own opinions on how often to mail affiliate products, how often to communicate with the list in general. But in general, having other people that you support, having other people that you are interested, and again, this is making the assumption that you're not just mailing a product to mail it, that this is a product that you either use yourself, are intimately familiar with, or you deeply know the person who is selling it, and you know that they are men or women of great character and will deliver on their promises. Affiliate products are a great way to increase your customer base because they see that you don't always have to be responsible for creating your own content and products. You'd be really bogged down if that's all you ever did. When you use other products, you can offer a tremendous amount of value for your niche or marketplace by sharing in the content created by others when it's really good. But just remember that every time you put out something for sale, whether it's your product or someone else's, people are going to be judging you by the quality of that content. So be very careful about the products that you choose to include. Mitchell and I, in our real writing brand.
Yeah, I would say, if I can jump in here for 1 second, congruency is very important. Obviously, people who have purchased, software from us, offering conversion control, for us to promote, let's just say, a product related to some other industry, it's totally inappropriate, and that's where you run into spam issues potentially, or people they disengage from you. You want to promote products that enhance the positioning of your own product,
right,
and enhance your own product ideally. So for our plot control users, our screenwriting area, we would only promote film-related products as an affiliate to those people, because obviously, even to promote offer and conversion control or other products, we had to tread very, very carefully on how we approached that to begin with.
Right, and what I was about to say is, in that particular marketplace especially, we really don't do a lot of affiliate promotions. We're very careful about what we do, and that's the reason why our open rates in that particular list still remain around 30%, which in today's internet world of email open rates is unheard of.
But what we run into there, and this is sort of the other point, is that we feel we have such a superior product to everything else that's out there, and we've looked at things very closely in terms of the real value that's conveyed. We feel we would be doing a disservice to most of the products that are out there promoting how to write a screenplay.
In terms of a competitive product, but there are other things that. Well,
in terms of a competitive product, but even as an affiliate to promote, I want to promote this. Whatever it is to help screenwriters, we feel many of these products would not help our customers. They would hurt our customers, ironically.
Correct. It's always about, but actually, Mitch, you touched on a really touchy and important subject, because there are really two ways to look at the world of business and in general. One way is to think that everything is this finite universe of I got to grab as much as I can because there's only a limited supply. And then the other philosophy on that is to think of things as really just an open, constantly expanding universe. And especially in the world of partnerships and joint ventures, that on a particular subject matter, there may be a lot of people that can help a customer or a client base grow in that particular area. So in the world of marketing especially, the reason you see so many partnerships and joint ventures is because there are so many products that, although they're in the same space and may even offer similar assistance, that together they really help people out. And also, people who are interested in a particular subject, they tend to go on what are called buying frenzies. They get interested in something and they want to consume as much as they possibly can on that particular subject matter. What's different about the film industry, and I don't want to get too off topic and spend too much time here, but what's different about the screenwriting industry is it's a very, very quirky niche industry. And what happens is, if there's advice from one particular teacher, in many ways it tends to be completely counterproductive or totally different than what other teachers are doing.
It's completely different than what we teach. That's for sure. We have a very unique approach, and that's our approach. And it's so a lot of the other teachers in that industry, run very much congruent with each other, using a failed approach, and our approach is very unique. It breaks the mold. It's better. We all know it's better if you're inside our circle, but so we have to be very careful with that. I mean, we've never stated it publicly that that's our position. We've alluded to it, but we haven't stated it outright.
Right. So that said, let's go back into the software.
Yep.
And look at some of those other strategies.
Okay,
so affiliate products, again, a great source of revenue. Just be very careful about who you let into your list, because you are judged every time. Jeff Walker and many, there's an expression in the industry, push, send, make money. It's a very popular expression, but just be careful about that, because push, send, make money may work for a certain point, but if you're mailing stuff that is not of the highest quality, that's not going to represent you in the best light, eventually that money is going to just diminish and diminish and diminish and diminish, and you will kill your list. Mitch and I have seen it we've seen very valuable lists go from being super valuable to worth almost nothing in terms of traffic and in terms of return on investment for cost per click. So just be very careful of that. Consulting. For many of you, this in some ways can be the holy grail. This is literally something that you're ultimately trying to do. You get people into your process so that ultimately you can get them into private one-on-one or one-to-many group session consulting so that you are truly maximizing your time. The one thing to keep in mind is that depending on what philosophy of business you have, and mind you, there is no right or wrong. There are many who will try to tell you one is better than the other, but the truth of the matter is there are some people who just want to stay engaged with people all the time. They don't care that their days are spent privately with clients. As long as they're making a good living for their time, they don't mind trading their time for money because that's what they love doing. They love working every day or many days, spending time with their clients consulting. Just beware that if you're doing that, your entire day or entire week and entire year can be turned into trading your time for money, and you've only got a limited number of hours that you can work with. So one, you better be earning enough money for those hours, and two, make sure that that's what you love doing, because of course the alternative is to build up high-end products that require less of your time. And so you can do them in concentrated efforts and spend more time working on building your business as a whole that can run without you, not with you. So depending on which model you choose, you're going to vary the amount of actual consulting hours that you make available to your people. Again, there's no right or wrong. It's just a matter of personal preference. But generally speaking, once you start in the areas of consulting and masterminds, which we'll come to in a minute, and other products, these are things that are ideally going to be, multiple hundreds of dollars per hour at a minimum, if you want to really maximize your time with those. Anything to add, Mitch?
No, it's very straightforward. I think it's straightforward.
Right, and so consulting, of course, can take any number of forms. It can be consulting on a specific purpose for a particular result. So, for example, some of the products and services that we do for our community, there are people who are interested in working with us privately, and they are very comfortable in executing their campaigns, but they want a little help with the messaging. And they want to make sure that they have filled out pretty much the entire aspect of offering conversion control. They want to make sure that they've done it well. And so we'll work with them specifically on the goal of going through each of these sections and areas and make sure that they've captured it properly. Other people just want an hour of your time. They just want to bounce ideas off your head, and with Mike and Andy, that's very popular. They know they've got a lot of marketing knowledge and wisdom, so they just say, hey, I'd love an hour of your time to just talk about my campaign and make sure I'm doing things right. Sometimes it's one-to-many group consulting, so they'll set up a private session and maybe cap it at 10 to 20 attendees and just leave it up for group questions and group session, and all of that is considered consulting. One better than that, sort of in the vein of group consulting, is something which many of you may be familiar with at this point. It's something called masterminding. It was actually first started by Napoleon Hill, where he cultivated, and it's basically when more than two people get together in one space collectively with the highest intent and the highest purpose. It's as if one giant mastermind is formed that they can draw information and influence from. And so the power of multiple people getting together, sharing the best strategies, and also, of course, the person or group who is hosting the mastermind providing exceptional value, providing exceptional training and a great experience in the process is a very, very powerful thing. And you may have seen masterminds. Some of them are free get-togethers through like a meetup local organization. Other times you can pay as much as $25, $50, even $100,000 or more to be part of an annual mastermind group. And I have never talked with anybody, even people who pay those really large dollar numbers, that have not been very happy using them. Especially when you look at some of the people charging an awful lot of money. They tend to bring such a high caliber of expertise and experience into those groups that most people who are part of them, to the extent that they could literally write the check, are willing to do it over and over again because they know how valuable it is. It's like if you join a very private, exclusive golf club. First of all, the waiting lists on some of them are huge, but the initiation fees and the annual dues and the costs, but for what it's worth, the experience of playing at an exclusive club, the ability to network and live in an exclusive circle, you ask most of those people, as long as they're able to keep writing the checks, they're not going anywhere because it's delivering the highest value and the highest experience all the time. And this is something to remember about masterminds or any of your high-ticket products. As long as you are delivering the best possible experience and making sure that everyone who's a part of it is getting what they need out of it, you'll find that to the extent that they can write the check, literally, they're going to want to keep coming back and keep being a part of it.
Yeah, the other component of masterminds is very important is the relationships that are built with a mastermind. I mean, that's a major part of it. Being able to exchange, define affiliates, define other products, define affiliate products. I mean, all these things we've been talking about can be, masterminds end up being a very strong place to find people to work with, to promote other products, to promote as affiliates, to have them promote for you as affiliates, all that stuff.
Absolutely. And last but not least, just other kinds of products, whether they are offline, whether they're other online products. Again, similar to affiliate products, but these might just be other related type products. So, for example, if what you are selling is health and fitness coaching, what you might want to introduce people is something related. Perhaps you have relationships with other services or other providers that you can introduce people to. And again, it's sort of related to a referral fee or affiliate product, but I classify this as almost a separate but related category or service. And I think the best example I can think of here is for people who are in the financial services industry. A lot of times if you have a financial consultant or a financial planner, you'll find that they have good relationships with accountants, or with estate planning attorneys, or with other people who are in not exactly the same but related services, so that when one of their clients needs those services, they've got someone to send it to. It's kind of like your dentist may know a great orthodontist or a great periodontist. Your primary physician may obviously know a great dermatologist or a great other thing. So I would say the medical fields and the financial service industries are really good examples of relationships with other product and service vendors that you can be the go man or the go woman to be able to introduce your client base. I can tell you that it's a very powerful thing for your clients to look at you as the connector. When they feel like they don't have to make 20 phone calls, all they need to do is make one phone call to get what they need, it's a very powerful relationship to be in, and that's something that comes from masterminds, increasing your Rolodex, improving your relationship currency, and making it so that people are aware that you can provide value in so many different ways through the connections you can make and through the training that you can deliver on a regular basis. It's a really great way to live, to do business, and to be able to exist in your product or space. So that sort of takes us through the software. We have gone. Let's just do a quick review, Mitch. In case you may not have seen it yet, know now that there are. Can we go back to the software for just one sec? Just for a very quick review.
Of course, let's do that. There we go.
We have now, and we're not going to review everything, everyone. Just as a reminder here, if you're watching this live or otherwise, this is the last of the tab trainings. As I've mentioned many times, we're going to have many training sessions of different topics based on topics you request, as well as things we know that are going to be valuable for the community based on our experience. But we have now gone through each and every one of those. So all of these, if you're watching this live, it should be later today, or worst case scenario tomorrow, should be available in your members area. You can find detailed training on the core elements, on building and cultivating your marketing story, on coming up with objectives to make sure that you're addressing all the reasons why people may not buy from you and how to think through those and solve that in your messaging, your influence. These are all, of course, inspired by Cialdini's 7 factors of influence. Then on to your funnel control, of course, which is going through the lead generation, which is usually pre-financial transaction, both getting the click, so to speak, as well as capturing the lead, right into the transaction tab, where we just did yesterday, in fact. We went through everything from the very first sale, the very first time you're ever asking your customers or prospects for money, all the way up through an upsell after the primary product sale, and of course culminating today with retention and back end. The only thing we of course didn't cover as a tab is the outline, and remember the outline is once you've filled everything in, the outline is what's going to spit out literally section by section in order everything that you've just written. So if, for example, you're writing your messaging to record a video sales letter or for a presentation, as you're working through those sections, you can literally just write the script right in here. And that's what Mitch and I usually do when we're working through our process. We'll just write the script right in here. We'll export it, and then we'll put it into Word to clean it up just a little bit so that it's easy to get on and record very quickly, very practical. So at this point, I know there's a delay, as always. If this is your first time here, you may have noticed, although you won't notice it, it's live to you, but to us, what we're saying to you is actually happening anywhere from 30 seconds to a minute, a minute or so longer than when you're hearing it. So I'm just going to throw out any last questions on any of the tabs, anything at all that we've covered, any comments. It's one of those days where I know we have a limited audience, but I've seen few, if any, chat comments, so I want to make sure that it's working. So either a quick thank you or quick feedback, just take 10 seconds and type something in for us, because it's really unusual where we go an entire session and don't get a single chat note. And unless I'm missing something, Mitch, I haven't seen it. So I know we enabled it, but lately we've had some issues with the webinar jam, and it has not been working so well. So if you are there, folks, and have a question,
I could try and
disengaging it, and then let's just make everything public at this point. Let's change everything to allow both public and private.
So I mean, should be working maybe.
So we'll hold out an extra 30 seconds. It should be working. So if someone would be kind enough to at least let us know you're alive, and just let us know the chat's working, and if you have any final questions or have been holding out on your questions, Mitch and I will fill for about 20 seconds while this messaging catches up.
There it is.
Hey, thank you, Alan, for
Alan's the winner.
for typing it. Alan is the big winner here. And it's not that we're looking for a pat on the back here. We just want to make sure you guys are able to ask questions.
Okay, that was because a couple sessions ago, turns out we did have the chat disabled. So apparently someone was trying to ask questions, and we got it. I was trying to ask questions, and no one could see it.
That's right. That's right.
So that's why now we're like paranoid about it.
Yes, as you can see, to get out here, and this is something that I really like to remind, because as we watch people who are great at what they do, and listen, I've learned from the masters and people who have been very successful in the industry, the Rich Sheffrins, Mike and Andy, Frank Kern, Mike Keenings. I've been following those guys. I've used their products, and I admire what they do. And sometimes there's such a polish about having a studio and feeling like, until I really get the lights and the camera and to get all this stuff going, I just don't feel right about charging money and getting out there and creating content. And as you can see here, what Mitch and I have been doing for the last number of weeks is we're increasing the content. We are building content as we speak. I've got some lights that I use, but this is not a perfect set. This is nothing fancy. There's no bossathon behind me. I don't need that to deliver important content, important training that you all can really take with you and use. So your surroundings, your lack of an incredible camera, don't let that be a stop to you. If you're new and you know that you're going to screw up when you get on a webinar, it's okay. Mitch and I screw up all the time, and you guys have seen it before your very eyes. And it's part of what humanizes you. Remember, your vulnerability is one of the most powerful connectors that you have with your audience. And when done authentically and when happening naturally, it's a great way to connect with people. So we are thrilled to have each and every one of you as part of our community. We really want to hear from you. We want to hear your thoughts. We want to hear your criticisms. All we want to do is make this experience better for you. So as we continue to improve software, develop new versions, and of course continue to deliver ongoing training, please make sure that you are letting your voice be heard by requesting the kind of information and the kind of sessions that you really want to see. Mitch, is there anything else that came in through questions other than thank yous?
Finally, thank you. Okay, now so we got just another thank you. And thank you to all of you for participating in this. All these trainings that we've been doing, these live trainings, are going to be available. The other 4 are already available. Yesterday and today will be put up there today in the portal. So if you have access to the portal, just go. You can watch them to your heart's desire. If you don't have access to the portal, that means you probably haven't bought the software yet. What more do we have to do to convince you to buy the software? Reach out to support, and we'll do something for you to get you into the software.
Right. So anyway, thank you all so much. Anyway, I'll just type a one last written request so there's no delay. Last call for tab training questions.
And we are going to start for the live viewers of this. Of course, if you're watching it this years from now, it doesn't apply to you. But we are going to be starting the second or third week in August. We'll have our first hot seat session. So that'll
be that long from now?
Well,
I guess with the move. Mitch is actually undergoing a major international move next week.
Yeah, so it's going to be until the 4th, the week of. And we'll talk about that in next month. Yeah, so in the 4th or the week after that. Well, the first or second week, not the third week. Well,
right.
we'll get with the first month.
But having said that, everybody, don't forget that aside from the hot seat, support is always open. If you have questions, by all means, do not wait till the next live training to get your questions in. We want to make sure that we help you as immediately as possible. Samuel is ready in our support. Sasha's ready. All of our support team, including Mitch and myself, are ready to help you with anything that you're going through, any feedback that you have, any challenges, not just technical. A lot of people only contact us if they see something is not working in software. So if you have a creative challenge or a block of any kind, that's what we're there for, is to help you. So again, I do see a quick question from Daniel asking, what is the specific topic for the hot seats? Guys, the hot seats are entirely for you. They are your session. The way the hot seats work is we basically have people, we usually set aside a 90-minute block, although Mitch and I aren't terrible clock watchers. If people are getting value and there's a lot of people to serve, we want to try to help as many people as possible. But usually we try to get a minimum of 3 people on every session. And really what we do is we open up the software and we say, where can we help you? And sometimes people are literally starting from scratch, and so we'll start with the core elements and help them.
So basically, it's live training. Basically, we literally, it's basically you tell us what your product is, where you're struggling with marketing, and within the context of the software, we literally just build out your stuff. There's a few, if you have access to online, you can see there's a few replays from Offer Control there already.
Correct. That's right. If you go into which section is that in, Mitch? That's in the main training session. It should say
it's under
Offer Control replays, right?
Yeah, let me see if I can find it, but it's there.
Yeah. Right. So if you go in there, it'll just do that. So the answer to the how much do I need to prepare? The answer is not at all. You just need to show up. If you do have a file that you've been working on, Daniel, so in other words, if you've started a project or a campaign and you'd like to email that to us so that we can load it up for you on the hot seat and help you work inside of it, you can certainly do that and send it over. But you can also be saying, hey, I'm brand new to this, or I really want to get your guys' take. Let's just start from scratch. We're here to help you. And although we use the software as an anchor and as a focus, don't think that you can't ask any kind of marketing question, any kind of presentation question, any kind of process question. Heck, if you guys are interested in film and television and are curious about breaking into that industry, we're happy to answer your questions on that subject too, because we spend a lot of time there. So
we'll wrap up with just a quick view of the portal here. So obviously, if you're watching this in the portal, you're already in the portal. You can see on top. And this may change over time. So again, right now this is what it looks like. On top, you've got your offer and conversion control software access, presentation control access. And if you don't have access to presentation control, well, you should get access to presentation control. Reach out to support, and we'll set you up. So offer and conversion control. That's what we're talking about here. If you go down here, there's the live workshop replays. So those are the ones that were done already from the original launch. You can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4 sessions that are in the portal there. Under offer and conversion control training is the replays of this. There's the 4, and then yesterday's session will be here, and today's session will be below that. Also included here, while we're just going through it, the getting started is just the overview of the product, where you can also download. So that's where you can access your download in there. And then the Genesis Live event that was done with Mike and Andy, their event, and that was part of the offer control package, which is included as a bonus for anybody who buys offer and conversion control. That's why we have it available to you, because you are a offer and conversion control customer, and therefore you get the bonus of the offer control package. So, and then that's the whole all the sessions from their incredible event that was back in December 2013. And that's the member portal. That's where you can find all the content.
Right, and more growing as we alluded to every month. So just to sort of wrap up and let you guys know what's coming up, as Mitch said, the next training content publication will likely occur via a live session. I know that many of you have seen this training or aren't always to get on these live sessions, but I do know that most people do love to jump on for those Q&A hot seats. We tend to get a lot of attendance and a lot of requests to be on the hot seats. Since this is going to be an ongoing thing, if you don't get a chance to be a longer hot seat, know that we'll still make sure to get some time at the end for some Q&A, sort of I think we call it like a lightning round, Mitch, where we just do sort of a quick lightning round and try to answer a few questions, and we'll be able to provide those. But make sure you email support@controlwriter.com to request your hot seat spot, so that we can just put in the subject line hot seat request, so that we start to build and calendar people for those. We generally do try to do the hot seats at night. I apologize for those people who are overseas. Maybe once every month or two we do, we'll move it around and do one a little bit earlier, say like a 6 o'clock Eastern time as opposed to it. So at least if it's late, it's only, for the people overseas, it's maybe 11 p.m. as opposed to 2 in the morning.
Yeah, we've had two people on those hot seats. At least someone says 2 or 3 in the morning. He's
right.
like
And people do it, and at the end of the day, it's just one of those things. Get your sleep, go to bed early, and then set your alarm and jump on for the call. At the end of the day, we want to always rotate to the extent we can and try to accommodate everybody. But ultimately, the goal is to sort of look at our numbers, look at our locations, and capture the most people we can and serve the most people. So that tends to be right around that 8:30 to 9:30 p.m. Eastern time, because people have put their kids to bed on the East Coast, and people are just getting back from work on the West Coast. So, but again, if you've got particular time requests, we'll always consider them and take them into account. And of course, if you do miss the live training, all of them will always be available in your members area on replay. So with that, appreciate all the thank yous. Thank you everyone for jumping in, and we will continue to serve you and to look to help and improve all of your marketing and your software experience every step of the way on our part. Have a fantastic weekend, and all the best.
All right, goodbye everybody.
Guys.
Let me stop the broadcast.